everybody. This is Contesa Tate, and welcome to the Divine and Aligned Collective's Monday sister chat called Divine Sessions. I'm so excited because every single Monday I get an opportunity to not only meet and network with a new sister, but I also get to hear how she brags about herself and how she serves her family and also the community around her. So, without further ado, I want to introduce y'all to a new sister of mine, and I want her to go ahead and not be humble. That's what I told her. I don't want her to be humble whatsoever, but I want her to just share who is she? What is she about? How can we support her? And I want y'all to go ahead and show her much, much love. So, go ahead, sister, tell us who you are.
I am a mom. I'm a content creator. I'm a hairstylist, founder of Heal That Trauma Mama Thursday. As you can see, I am in the car, which I was not scheduled to be, but we had a mother emergency. I have to activate my mom powers and go to my kids right now. So, that's just what it is. I'm constantly balancing all of these things, and it's not easy. This is the real deal right here.
Yes,
But
it
as
is.
but as long as you make it work, that's what matters.
I know that's right. So tell us this. You have a Mother's Day special event coming up. Can you please tell us what that is?
Yes, I actually just made some content today with the DJ I have. I'm so happy to have him. His name is DJ Monk Earl, and it's gonna be in Santa Cruz, California. It's like my second home. I love that place. Love the vibe there. Very community based city, and it's beautiful. It's by the beach. But yeah, we're gonna have an R&B brunch. It's at the Wood House. It's a brewery. So each ticket, they're $15. Kids are free. It includes one drink, so you can have a mimosa, you can have beer, you can have kombucha, whatever you're into if you don't drink alcohol. And then we will have vendors there. There will be also more of like a Southern style cuisine, breakfast items to select from. We're going to have a local florist there to get flowers. You can buy a bouquet of flowers. And again, that live DJ that's going to be spinning, we're going to have some soul, some funk, some R&B, new school, old school. I'm really excited to bring the vibes and to bring the community together. I do a lot of things online, and so for me to finally be able to get people together in person where connection can really thrive, where energy can really travel, that's what I'm excited to be a part of.
Absolutely. It sounds like a vibe. It sounds like not only a vibe for just us mothers, but also for our loved ones who might want to come and celebrate with us. And who doesn't like some good food, okay? Because I don't know about y'all, but I love going to a vibe, but then the food is nasty. It sounds like she's gonna have some bomb food. She's gonna have some music, vendors. So y'all just go ahead and click the Eventbrite that's on her page, and y'all go show our sister some love. Okay, sis, now I'm going to read off a little bio that I have found for you. And I was just like, if there was a cute little summary to just summarize you, I thought this was really thoughtful. And I'm going to pull it apart a little bit and just kind of chat with you. But it says
Okay.
Amber Mercedes is a content creator, entrepreneur, and single mother who built a powerful online platform centered around healing. She uses humor and empowerment, and through her brand, Heal That Trauma Mama, she creates relatable, heartfelt, and often hilarious content that uplifts women, especially mothers. She helps them navigate life, trauma, and learn how to grow. Amber uses her voice to inspire healing, build community, and remind women that their story matters. Sis, I just thought that was so thoughtful and most importantly, very brave. Because for you to be able to create a whole platform called Heal That Trauma Mama, that meant that you had to heal from your own story or find this continuous journey to continue to grow and be empowered from your own self. So just talk about like, how did you get through your journey so that you can help heal other mothers as well?
That healing is a lifelong journey, and there's always going to be times where those traumatic events that you've gone through, there's something that will trigger some of those emotions. It'll bring up those times. You'll have almost like almost like a PTSD in a way, right? But being aware of your triggers, being aware of your attachment styles, being aware of your love languages, being aware of all of these therapeutic tools will really help you have healthier relationships with everyone around you. You know, we don't realize how much of the things we've gone through as a child and in our adult life. You think because the event's over and it's done, that it's done, but it's not done.
Right.
You know, if it really was that traumatic, if it was brought up some negative emotions, that doesn't go away. It's almost like a wound, you know, like, yeah, the scar, it might be all healed, but you're still going to have that scar there. You know, the wound might be all healed up, but the scar is going to be there.
Right.
And that I truly believe it's just a lifelong journey. And I've brought everyone along with me publicly. And that was, at first it was really difficult because there is an immense amount of shame and guilt that comes with some of our decisions and choices in life. And it can be embarrassing at times, you know, to talk about some of these things, but they're real and I'm not alone. You know, I'm not the only person that didn't have a child with the best person, you know.
Right.
I'm not the only person that was in a toxic relationship. I'm not the only person that's gone through any of these things. A lot of us have.
Right.
It's just, do we have the safe space to talk about it?
Right.
Not a lot of times. Society shames us. It's always the women who get shamed for anything and everything that we do.
Yeah.
So I wanted to create a safe space, and I brought everyone along with me on this healing journey. And I've been sharing my story little bit by little bit. You know, I've been opening up. It's not been easy to do, but
no, it's not.
But listening to all of the women that they message me, and they're like, "Hey, thank you so much for sharing your story. I feel so much less alone.
Yes.
I didn't know that there was other women out there like that feeling like me, you know, and that's what keeps me going. That's why I'm like, I think I can share another story."
Yes, come through, sis. And I liked how you said that, like, this is real life and it is embarrassing sometimes. Sometimes you're being re-triggered. And I think that in a world full of social media influence, I think that trolls and people in the comments really forget that you are living the memes that you're posting. You are living the posts that you put up, the reels that you place. They're bits and pieces of you. And I feel like people really sometimes forget that we're influencers. We're influencing people to understand that life still is real, even though we're using technology to connect. And I think that just hands down to you, because technology and social media and just using any form of media is scary. But I think that it's just very brave of you to put yourself out there. And so I just want to go ahead and just give you a round of applause, because I am a therapist by trade. So I'm a marriage family therapist. And one of the things that I've always talked to some of my clients about is finding community, because it's in community that you not only find your voice, but you encourage other people to find theirs. So as you're building your platform, growing it, what are some of the common things that people are like really going to you for? Like, what is something that they're like, man, you really helped me? And like, what is that for you?
I think taking accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and this, I don't want to say that all situations, you know, it's entirely our fault. That's just not true. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people who they're very manipulative.
Yep.
And they can put on this show. And in the end, once they get you where they want you to be, they're a completely different person. And that's the real them. And that's oftentimes how it happens. And we ignore those red flags. There was definitely some red flags, unless they're really, 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 really good at it. There usually are a few red flags that we dismiss. You know, some people think that we blatantly ignore them, and that's how we ended up in situations that we ended up with in toxic relationships. But That's not usually how it goes. But in my first relationship with my the first person that I had a child with, they were there. They were pretty obvious. Not necessarily in the beginning. I was already hooked in, but I did still decide to have a child with this person, and I knew that they were there. But I realized that I have, for one, a high tolerance for drama because I grew up in toxic households.
Mm-hmm.
So it felt normal to me. Red flags don't feel like red flags, and I feel like home. For two, I have this subconscious desire to fix others.
Yep.
And I correlate that to my self-worth. I feel like if I can get them to love me, if I can get them to be a good person, that I finally won, right? Like I'm worthy. And I realize that is completely delusional. And just even being aware, right? Like I'm at that stage where I'm aware. And that's where women have come to me and they're like, I'm right there with you. I totally get what you're saying. And I see it now. I couldn't see it before, but now I see a lot of these cycles and these patterns where keep repeating, you know, but we don't have to be our past. Our past does not define us. Every day we get a new chance to wake up and rewrite the story and make it different. And I don't have to be in another toxic relationship, you know, but if I don't heal, if I don't start recognizing those red flags for red flags, and if I just continue dismissing them, I will end up in that same situation. But right now, I'm 2 years in, and I still, I'm still single, but at least I'm not in another toxic abusive relationship, and I'm so proud of me for that because I finally see growth. I see it. So I would say accountability. That's where people, they come to my page and they relate to me, and I love it. I'm so grateful.
I know that's right. And I think for me, I smile because I just did a little blurb on my Facebook earlier today talking about accountability and how when you are shown a mirror, sometimes the hardest step is facing yourself and being honest about how much you're allowing around you. A lot of times we're like, I don't like the people I'm around, but we never leave them, right? Or, man, I'm broke, but we don't do nothing to either save our money or make more. It's just sometimes we have to get empowered enough to make the move that we know is best for us. But I also want to normalize this shared feelings that we go through when we are in toxic environments or when we're not in the most healthiest relationships. I want to normalize that sometimes what feels good for us is not always the things that are best for us. And sometimes we can get addicted to the idea of something, but totally dismiss the reality thereof. For example, something I'm pretty sure a lot of women can agree with, knowing that a guy got super red flags, right? But he does one area really, really well. And I know so many women that will totally dismiss, I'm talking about some major red flags because they're good in one area of their relationship. And I've talked to women who feel so ashamed for being in that space that they stay in the relationship. And I think the empowerment comes from letting sisters know they're not the only one who would make that same mistake or who would make that same decision to stay. But it's that reflection of, sis, not only is that a familiar experience, but again, you are also worthy enough to have something better. What is something that you would say to a woman right now if she's watching this and she's like, I'm currently in one of the most toxic relationships, but I've already found myself so deep in it. What would you tell her to feel empowered to make a change for herself?
Whatever you're looking from your partner, whatever love, attention, guidance, support, whatever you're looking for in that person, you're not going to receive that until you give it to yourself. You have to give it to yourself first. You have to love yourself. People are only going to treat you as great as you treat yourself. So relationships are reflections of the trauma that we have to take the responsibility and heal from, and you will attract better. And I know in the moment you feel there's still some hope. That's why you stay, because that's the cycle. There's moments where they're good, but there's no relationship that's worth your health. And to keep going through this cycle, life is so short, and to keep going through that cycle where it's good and then it's bad and it's good and it's bad. Bad times do not include being cheated on. Bad times do not include being lied to, manipulated. Bad times do not include being abused in any way, shape, or form. That's not a rough patch. It's just not. So I would say to just really sit and think, what is it that you're needing, and you gotta give it to yourself. And when you do that, your life's gonna be so much more peaceful. You're gonna have so much more peace. And it's easier said than done. It's so much easier said than done.
That's right.
But eventually people, I feel like they do get sick and tired of it. You get to your breaking point. Everybody will have a breaking point. Everybody's breaking point looks different.
Yes.
But I pray that if you're listening to this, that this is your aha moment. This is your this is my sign. This is my sign, and no more. No more. I deserve to be happy. I deserve to be loved the way that I want to be loved. I deserve a healthy relationship.
Yes, sis. And it's gonna happen in phases. Some people's situations, their testimonies that they went cold turkey and was able to leave that toxic relationship. But I'm all about really helping people find a silver lining. Sis, talk about the times when you decide to leave, you decide to stop calling, you decide not to go back, only to be like, you were strong for 7 days. But that 8th day, you went right back to calling. You were good for 2 weeks. But then at the end of that 2 weeks, you found yourself back in the bed. Like, speak to that, sis, because I think people really got change messed up, and they think that it's this clean, crisp journey of I made my mind up and I left. No, talk about the back and forth and how that is so important to look at that as potential baby step wins, because that too is part of the getaway process. So speak a little bit to that back and forth, and maybe I did 1 week and then I went back, or maybe I did 1 month. Speak to that back and forth experience.
Yeah, I'll admit it wasn't like I just left the first time. There are women, I see the women that are like, oh, you cheated on me, done, right? Yep. And that's a woman with some good boundaries and good self-respect.
Okay.
But a lot of us, we don't. And in this economy, maybe I'll just try to make it work. And that's what I did. It took me 4 times. My last relationship took me 4 times to leave. And I will say that every single time it just got worse. The reason my breakthrough of wanting to leave, it didn't get better. It never really got better. It took me 4 times. Yeah. It wasn't until my final breaking point where I said, what really got me on that last time was that my kids are getting older.
Yep.
And I don't want to, when they are in their adult years, to be in toxic relationships. And then I will not be able to sit and look at them enduring that pain and know that I didn't do everything possible to help them make better decisions and choices. If I didn't model that for them, I don't want to be able. I don't want to be 50 years old looking at my child crying and being in this toxic relationship and knowing that, well, I set that precedent. Yeah. I didn't want that. I wanted to be strong for them. I wanted them to have a better example and know that this is not something you tolerate or put up with, and it's not acceptable.
Yes.
Yeah, yes. That's what really got me, is they're getting older and they're watching, and I'm like, no, they can't. They're starting to pick up, even if you don't do it in front of them. There's little things, where they start to kind of pick up and see, and bad habits. And I'm like, I can't have this.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was it for me. It was seeing my kids.
And it's interesting how when you're doing like a weight loss journey or you're building a business or you're reaching a goal, a mentor always tell you find your why, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't hear it framed that way when it comes to wanting to make a change that might be difficult, like leaving a toxic relationship or leaving something that is not healthy for your kids. Find your why and use that as the anchor as to why you are going to make decisions that go against maybe what you desire. Because you might desire to be with that toxic individual, but you have to put your why before yourself and say, you know what? My why of why I got to get out of this place is X, Y, and Z. My why is my kids. My why is my health. And these are the reasons why you're going to never give up fighting to release something that is toxic for your mental, your spiritual, and your physical. And I just think that we got to give credit to the fight. And I know that some people really see struggling and that back and forth as a loss. But one thing that I like to do, especially as a solution focused person, I always look at every opportunity of making a motion or an action as a win. Even if you have to double back a little bit because of you're learning new disciplines, you're learning new shoes to wear, right? It's going to be a natural experience to feel that back and forth, but never give up the fight, never give up on believing that you deserve better, and always keep your why at the beginning of your motions to do anything. You know, if you're like, am I going to leave today? Okay, let me look at my why. Am I going to stay? Whatever it is, you need to figure out what your why is and use that as your anchor. Now,
That's perfect. Yeah.
yes. And I think that a little bit about just listening to you a little bit, saying that you had some trauma in your background. Where did you find the seeds of positivity, or where did you see the good examples, or where did you get the notion that you deserve better? Because for some people, they grow up in toxic environments, and so they almost don't know better. They don't know what love looks like because it wasn't modeled for them. So having an experience where you've experienced a toxic upbringing, where did you find examples that you deserve and that you could have better?
I remember as a kid, I would do anything and everything to not go home because home wasn't a safe space. So I was heavily involved in the community, academics, sports, whatever I could. And I figured out a way. I had two jobs while I was in high school. I was on the dance team. I was a part of the HOSA program at school. I got off of school early and I'd go to one of my jobs. I did whatever I could to survive, just to not be at home. But I will say that when I would go to a friend's house and have dinner with them, right, whenever I go anywhere where they come from a pretty healthy family, I remember just sitting there and thinking, wow, like, you guys really just have dinner together? You guys really talk to each other like this? There's never any yelling. I mean, I just remember being completely shocked
Yeah.
at how normal everybody seemed, and it felt so peaceful. And I remember thinking, okay, so there is more to life than where I'm at. And so I just always ran away and escaped from home. Where I messed up at was I wasn't sure how to find those healthy relationships and how to sustain those healthy relationships. I wasn't given those tools. So I saw what it looked like when I go out, right? But I wasn't sure the pathway to get there.
Right.
So yeah, those were my aha moments when I knew, you know.
Yes.
I knew there were good people.
And you know that talks about why everyone that's around us is so needed. And I think that, I don't know if COVID or just westernized thinking about being individuals it really speaks to why community is so important, because we model certain different behaviors, we model different thought processes. And if we can't find it in our immediate family, whatever resource or habit, we should be able to look in our community and find different examples of how we could better ourselves. How do you feel about community living and building community? Because you yourself build community, right? Speak to the importance of community and how other people should strive to stay connected to some form of community, not only for the betterment of themselves, but also for the betterment of the people around them.
So I'm seeing, and I'm sure everybody's aware, technology is taking community living away. Capitalism is taking community style away. You can see it.
Yep.
Little by little, we're seeing that being taken away. And it's not healthy.
Yeah.
If this way of life was made for us, we wouldn't have so many issues.
Yeah.
It's just not healthy, and we're not made to do this alone. That's why we're all here.
Yes.
So I'm all for the community and building community. I have a lot of different ways that I've had to outsource and find community because I did not have a healthy community from a very young age. So I've become extremely resourceful in terms of finding a tribe. It's definitely a skill I've acquired because of lacking community, and I can see how much more difficult it's getting based on how the world and the way that it's going. But we gotta keep pushing towards community because we can't let each other go. It's not possible.
Not at all. And it's so amazing because I'm like, we were never meant to live independent of each other. And I just think about, living in California, the price to live is so expensive that I know for me, I'm watching people get back to practices that we should have never left, like having multiple generations living in a home, or multiple friends coming together and saying, we're going to all pay this rent, or we're all going to come together and pay this mortgage because we can't do it alone. And even though it took pain for us to get to these practices, I'm so glad that we're starting to become way more aware that we are so much better together than individual, flexing. Because Westernized thinking is, I want to flex, right? I want my own so I can make somebody feel like they don't have what I have. But, with this economy, it's really pushed us to look inward and say, hold on, how can we get back to practices like bartering? How can we get to opportunities where if you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and we make sure we all eat? And I just love that, especially in the Bay Area, I know people have their, ups and downs, but for the most part, I appreciate seeing everyone's attempt to build a community that best serves them. And I love it because it speaks to how we're going to be able to move forward despite what may be happening on a greater scale. So on a greater scale, it's expensive to be here. It's expensive to breathe air and drive anywhere in the Bay. But what I love is that we've created these opportunities where if you have a business, you got people that will come support it. Or if you are artistic, then you've got little silos of artistic people to come sit with you. Or if you want to heal, there's these different healing movements and healing groups. And I just love seeing that. And, especially as a person who grew up in the Bay, that's one thing I've always appreciated about the East Bay is that we have community, and especially expressing through art and poetry. Like, it really soothes the soul to be able to artistically talk about pain and trauma, because again, it helps you heal. It helps someone else become liberated. And then there's ways to profit from these opportunities. So if you could, how do you feel like you've profited from your pain? Because I've always been fascinated at the resilient factor of going through trauma, but finding a way to profit from maybe something you've been through. So, how have you in your journey figured out how to profit from things that were painful for you?
Profit in terms of like actual monetization.
Anyway, it could be monetary, it could be connections, like whatever way you find profit. Like, how do you feel like you gained something from the experiences that you went through?
Well, for one, I'm gaining confidence.
Mm,
And that was something I realized I've lacked my entire life.
mm,
I had low self-esteem and no confidence. And that is
mm,
why I did not do a good job at setting boundaries.
mm-hmm.
And and the first time in my entire life, can actually feel my voice. And
Mm,
I'm not afraid to say it. Before
mm,
I was, and not that I don't still have some of these tendencies, it's a work in progress, but I was a big people pleaser.
yeah.
I always cared about everybody else. So that was because as a child, I always took care of everybody else. Nobody took care of me, and I never got to take care of me. So I didn't know I was important. So the
Mm.
confidence is something I've gained through all of this, and that's probably been the best part of sharing my story, because
Yeah.
I know that it's finally stopping with me.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. And again, congratulations on being vulnerable enough to save a life, because ultimately you are saving lives. You're helping women find their voice. You're helping women to become aware of their diagnosis, their social diagnosis, their relationship diagnosis. And then you're birthing people through using your platform. So, again, I commend you and I thank you for allowing us to even peek at something that you're actively working through, because, again, that is not easy and you will never get paid enough to put yourself out there. But I'm so grateful that you found it upon your journey to share with others. So again, thank you for who you are. And most importantly, keep shining, sis. And know that everything you do is for a greater purpose. And whether you are monetarily, because I love speaking about money, but whether you are monetarily monetizing whatever you're going through and figuring out ways to funnel businesses from what you're going through, I want you to never give up doing that, because everything will pay off. And I want you to understand that there are people who will never say thank you to you, who is literally living through you. So I never want you to be discouraged. And in those days where you are feeling discouraged, for whatever reason, I need you to understand that to someone, you are everything, and you will never hear them say it. But if you never showed up the way you are, you would not be making the impact that you are making right now. So be encouraged, sis. For real, for real.
You were that was the sweetest thing anybody told me all day. Thank you.
Absolutely. So could you tell us one more time, how can we follow you? What are the upcoming events, products, and services you got going on, and how can we support you?
Yes. So you can follow me at Amber_Mercedes_ on pretty much all platforms. I'm on it all. I'm mostly on Instagram. And the upcoming event would obviously be the Mother's Day brunch in Santa Cruz. That's all that I have right now in terms of events. This summer will definitely, I'll be creating something for everyone. So, but that's the most recent news, and I share a lot on Instagram, so I'll keep you all updated whenever there's something new.
Please do. please do. And y'all continue to follow our sister, encourage her. Even if you help them impressions and them algorithms, y'all like, share, subscribe, help a sister out. But yes, we want to make sure that whatever you got going on, we want to make sure that we're sharing it on our platforms as well, just to show you some love. So again, thank you for joining us tonight, and I'm glad to have made a new sister on today. And thank you for everyone who watched the live part, watched the replays. Go ahead and like us, subscribe, and share this video as well. And let's continue to just heal each other and build community. So thank you for joining Divine Sessions. We do this every single Monday at 7 p.m. PST time zone. And if you want to be a guest on the show, go ahead and DM your girl, okay? Because I don't mind meeting some new people and putting them on a platform. All right, y'all. I love y'all bunches. Bye.